The Afghan War. In the late 1970s, the government of Afghanistan was a communist one backed by the Soviet Union. Its leader, Babur Karamel, was installed in a coup with Soviet support in 1978, but he quickly became unpopular for his land reforms which redistributed land to the landless. But that land was mostly owned by the biggest landowners in the country, so those people were not very happy about this redistribution. This led to protests and full-scale rebellions by these big landowners and various Islamic fundamentalist groups who wanted the Soviets out of their country. The Soviets called them the Mujahideen, which literally means those who fight. They supported their Afghan allies with weapons, training, and most importantly, with money. And they needed all this help, because the Soviet army was unreally designed for fighting a war in the mountains. And the Afghans knew the terrain much better than the Soviets did. They also had the benefit of being led by some very able commanders, including one we have mentioned before, Ahmad Shah Massoud. He was perhaps the most successful of the anti-Soviet commanders. During the war, he built up an army of around 100,000 men. The Soviets tried to take out Massoud several times, but he managed to escape their ambushes and their air raids. They even offered him a deal where he could keep his fortune and his life if he laid down his arms, but he refused. He said, "If I accept the Soviets' offer to lay down my arms, it would mean selling my honor and that of my nation. I would rather die." So the Soviets kept trying to kill him until they finally succeeded in 2001. But despite these setbacks, the Soviets continued to push forward, and by 1986, they had pushed the Mujahideen back into a few small areas in the northeast and northwest of the country. This was when the Soviets made a tactical blunder. They decided to invade neighboring Pakistan in what they called Operation Tempest. They claimed that they needed to clear out Afghan refugee camps from Pakistan, but really it was a way to force the Pakistani government to come to the negotiating table. The plan was that once the talks with Pakistan were finished, they would then turn on India, but the operation failed. The Mujahideen fought fiercely against the Soviets, and soon the Soviets were bogged down in guerrilla warfare again. It was then that Mikhail Gorbachev came to power in the Soviet Union, and he decided to end the Afghan War. He started by withdrawing troops from Pakistan and then from Afghanistan. By 1989, all of the Soviet troops were withdrawn from Afghanistan, and just like that, the war was over. Well, not exactly, you see. The Soviets did not manage to defeat the Mujahideen. In fact, they had to sign an agreement with some of the Mujahideen leaders which guaranteed them amnesty and the right to keep their fortune. As for the rest of the Mujahideen, they continued to fight amongst each other. There were around 15 different factions, and they all wanted to be the ones who would take control of the country. With Soviet support, the most successful of these factions was Hizb-e-Islami. Led by Mohammad Nabi, his forces took Kabul in 1992 and proclaimed the establishment of the Islamic State of Afghanistan. But soon the other factions took Kabul as well. There was chaos in the country, and it seemed as if it would never end. Then in 1994, the Taliban appeared. They were a new faction led by the charismatic Mohammed Omar. They promised to bring peace and stability to the country, and since everyone was sick and tired of the chaos, they rallied a lot of support. They quickly took control of the country and established the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. So the Afghan War may have ended in 1989, but it was really just the beginning of a much longer conflict in the region. Now check out what really happened in Afghanistan after 9/11, or watch this video instead.